on the first show, you had mentioned you hurt your back and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And
Oh, yeah.
one thing I
flying.
wanted to share with you, dude, is see this wallet?
Yeah. You
This is
mean
my
like, wait,
wallet.
hold on. You mean like this big lumpy one that I sit on?
Yeah, pull that thing out.
Dude, this thing's the fucking eyesore of the world. Everything is, where's the camera? See, I'm just like you. Look at this. It's got like hair things sticking out of it because it's so old and withered. And everything I put into it, watch what I could do with it. Hey!
Exactly. It's flimsy.
Everything falls the fuck out. Now, this is my fault, by the way, because I can't seem to find a decent wallet. Do you have any tips?
Well, it's funny you brought that up, man.
Ridiculous.
And this is why we've got back problems. So for old men like us, and even for young people, I ran into this company called Ridge, right?
Okay.
Ridge.
I like the name.
RIDGE, right?
Yeah.
Look at this wallet, right? Carries everything you need, right? And look at this.
Compact.
It's compact, and just like this, you push down, you fan it out. You need a credit card. I got to pay for something. Just that easy. I go pay it. Boom. Put it right back in. And guess what?
You can just flip out and have multiple choice that easy.
That easy. Look how easy this is. And you know how stupid I am. You see how easy that was to fan out just like that, man?
Yeah.
Look at that, dude.
I'm stupider, but yeah, I get it. Okay.
And then you got
the
cash right on the back here. And guys, look, this episode is sponsored by Ridge. And if you use the promo code YouTube10, that's YouTube 10, you receive 10% off any Ridge product. Guys, I'm telling you, man, look at the difference. Look at the difference. You've got to use Ridge. Monte and the Pharaoh are telling you, please support Monte and the Pharaoh. And guess what? They've got other cool stuff because I'm an asshole. I just dropped it. Hold on.
It's all the way over there.
Only Monte will do this, folks. They also sell.
How's your back? You okay picking that thing up?
Well, since I've been using Ridge, my back is like 100% better. Right. Also, dude, check this out. From Ridge, I ordered this. Right? I know you're recently married, right?
Yeah.
24-karat gold-plated ring. Look how beautiful that thing is. Right? Ridge.com. Again, use YouTube 10 to receive 10% off. And guess what? If you're a working man and you're working with electric, you don't want to be using gold. You want to burn yourself. They also come with a nice rubber ring that you can wear.
They got those.
We all know the wives. That's
right.
And the wives don't want to, they get pissed off if you stop using their shit, right? Or showing you married because it's some hot girl. She doesn't see you married. She's jumping all over your shit. Especially if you're using the Ridge wallet, dude.
Nice.
Look at that. Look how thin that thing is, Jimmy.
Does it come in different colors and stuff? I mean,
you know what? You're brilliant. And guess what they just came out with? NFL team Ridges.
Ooh.
So if you're a Jet fan and you want to show your Jet color, or you're a Yankee fan, you can wear your Yankee fan Ridge.
Okay.
So anyway, I recommend that. And
very nice. Well,
thank you to
Ridge.
Thank you to Ridge. I agree.
Thank you very much.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
Yo, Thursday night. What's up, big guy?
What's up?
How you doing?
Frozen.
Uh-oh. We got some frozen time here.
We got Panama City Beach, brother.
I know. I was going to ask you, how's that snow going, man?
Well, I tried to tell anybody who would listen for like the last month or so. I was here last winter, and it was a nice winter. I was like, yeah, okay, I could live with this. That's cool. Was never freezing at any point. I was like, all right, it gets a little cold here, but doable, especially being from New York. This winter, nah, totally different feel. About a month ago, maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe like 3 weeks ago or so, I'd step outside my gatehouse and I'd be like, I would be like, yeah, it smells like snow, and everybody.
All right, we already got Jimmy in problems, so I'm going to bring on to the guest. Hey, what's up there?
No
Chubby
problems here.
Dudley. There you go, nice and smooth. The minute we go live on air, it happened last week too. So, just so you know, Chubby, that's by the way, that's our guest, Chubby Dudley. Welcome to the show. We usually shoot out of studio. The studio's under repair, so we're doing a little bit of old school.
Okay, I was wondering what's going on here.
Yeah, so 3 weeks ago, I was having internet problems, right? And then last week, Jimmy was having issues, and Jimmy looks like he's still having issues.
How about that?
There he is. Are you alive now? Jimmy? He'll get there, Chubby. Don't worry. This won't be such a mess. Yeah, he's struggling.
Aren't we all, though?
So, anyway, people weren't on the air, but we were all bullshitting a little bit. You got that Motley Crue shirt working. Heavy metal guy, or what's the deal there, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like all my roots are like metal, hard rock, and that's what I wanted to do before I got into the wrestling business.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was the whole problem was, in the peak of the 80s, as I'm trying to play guitar, I had my purple BC Rich and pink guitars, teased out hair, and all this stuff. I was 300 pounds, and you didn't see fat rock stars. So I finally got to the point where I was like, it's just not going to work because the weight's not coming off. So I sold my guitars and amps and got my down payment for wrestling school. That was my backup plan.
I got to back you up a little bit, though, first, right? So here you are. You're going to be this musician, right? Now, be fair. Tell me, what type of musician were you? Were you good? Were you adequate?
I sucked.
Oh, you were? Okay, well, so that's really why.
I can admit it. I was more, which doesn't make sense because I was still a fat bastard at the end of the day. But I was more worried about how high I can get my hair.
Right.
And what color nail polish I was wearing, than how good I could play guitar. But yet my favorite guitar player, and still a god to me this day, is Randy Rhoads. Right. And I just never even considered sitting and practicing like Randy 5 hours a day because I was too busy partying and teasing my hair.
And trying to get laid. Did you get laid a lot? Did you get laid a lot? No, huh?
Not until I hit the wrestling business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Jimmy, are you now back? You're ready to go, buddy?
Yeah, I learned quick. You told me to get in and get out if I experienced this bullshit, which is probably weather related, considering we just had 4 to 5 inches of snow, which is a record for this place. It hasn't snowed here since 1989. So
where are you at?
Well, I lived 55 years in New York, my friend. Hi, Chubby. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. I lived in New York with my partner there for 55 years, and I got here about a year and a half ago. And
where's there?
Was Panama City Beach, Florida.
Oh,
which is at the top, the Gulf of Mexico, if you know what I'm getting at.
Okay.
It's at the top of Florida.
First of all, do you want us to call you Bay? You want me to call you Chubby?
Whatever you want. Whatever.
It's Chubby. I saw him on TV. That's why we're talking. Motley Crue. What did I miss?
So, Chubby, he's kind of downplaying everything. So, on the show, we have guests like yourself. And on one particular evening, we had, you remember Wahoo McDaniel, eh?
Of course.
So, we had Wahoo's widowed wife, Karen McDaniel, very beautiful young lady. She comes on the show. We have a great interview. She does a fantastic job. And then before you know it, Jimmy's going to Florida, and now they're married. Bang, boom, done.
Come on.
That is the truth, and Mike,
This is the truth. Love and wrestling, man.
I don't
Love
usually, but I don't stand on a mountaintop and say, by the way, I tripped over Wahoo's plaque last night, which did happen this week. I was like, what the hell's that?
Wait. Is this fucking legit?
Yeah, this is legit. Yeah, I'm married to Karen McDaniel, who is married to Wahoo McDaniel. Yes.
Chubby, I don't know.
The one who made Ric Flair's robes. Yes, her.
Chubby, I don't know how often you watch the show, but we've had a lot of stuff go on here. From Marty Jannetty punching me in the face.
Yeah.
To Jimmy marrying Karen McDaniel. To
Wait. Can you see the ring? There's the ring. There you go. Wait a minute. Maybe I should do this, Mike. Wait, you see this right?
Oh my God!
Right, that's Wahoo's Saloon sign because he used to own a bar. All right. Behind me, I think. Where is he? I can't do it. Or maybe I can.
I'd be scared to death that motherfucker would come from the grave and beat my ass.
When I first got here, I actually asked him for spiritual approval, and he was like, thumbs up, so it's all good, bro. His son is fantastic. I mean, he's fantastic. Wahoo Jr. is a great human being. I really stepped in shit. That's a New York saying for wow. Is this really going on? But yeah, I'm very happy, man. But
That's awesome, though. Congrats.
Thank you. But it snowed. It hasn't snowed in 36 years. And of course, Mike, I didn't just bring, my usual New York jet luck that we suffer through. I brought snow, and I could smell it. I try to tell everybody it's coming. There's no snow shovel plows. There's no salt out here. There's no nothing. I did bring my ice scraper from New York. That saved my ass getting off my shift.
Last week it snowed here. And I moved to Nashville 5 years ago. It snowed here, and my stepdaughter, she just started driving like a couple months ago, and we were like, "Oh fuck, we don't have a snow scraper." So my fiance was out there with a rubber spatula, scraping the windshield.
Nice.
Yeah. Run the DeForce.
By the way, guys, when you're shoveling, do you end up getting bat wings from the sweat?
Are you back to the bat? You're back to the bat wings again?
I'm back to the bat wings. Chubby, do you do a lot of sweating when you're shoveling?
I do. I'm sweating right now. I'm sitting here.
Well, let me help you.
He's got bat wings. He's got bat wings right now.
Our new sponsor, Mando.
There you go.
They'll get rid of those bat wings for you, Chubby. All right. You just spray it in between your sack. Get it off your legs, right?
Your sack.
It comes right off.
Sack release spray.
Sack release spray. And the scent is wonderful.
Oh, my God.
And if you use the code MATP, you'll get 5% off.
This is real, too.
This is real. A lot of things that go on here. And guess what? If you're hanging out with the old lady, and of course, in typical Monte form,
just like the commercial.
You use this, and you smell really good, man. You put it all over yourself. Possibly, maybe get it licked off. Who knows? But you know what?
Hey.
Mando, MATP.
Mando.
There you go, buddy.
Wow.
Anyway, we're talking about rock and roll.
Nice.
We're talking about the Crew.
Okay.
Where does the Crew rank in all time heavy metal bands?
Listen, I look. It's very fashionable on the internet nowadays to bash Motley Crue, and I can see why. They've done some, things obviously that are questionable. Let's leave it at that. But this is rock and roll we're talking about, folks. So don't be such a softie. Motley Crue is one of the most important heavy metal bands in the history of heavy metal. Whether you love them or hate them, I don't give a shit. Okay, Motley Crue, without those first couple of albums, and I'll go on record to say this: Tommy Lee is the John Bonham of his generation.
Agreed.
If you really think about it, and this is not Neil Peart, they're different, all right, and they're both gods. But I'm talking about booming power. The basic boom of the rhythm of Motley Crue is due to Tommy Lee, and Mick Mars is an underrated genius. And those first two albums, especially, before we get to Girls, 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 or Smoking in the Boys' Room and all that other stuff that I could actually live without. Some of it was really good, like Louder Than Hell. I don't know if you know those. Some of these later tunes that were like, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's Crew. Crew had an edge in the beginning, which was aimed at our generation, Mike, the MTV generation. And
Sure.
to me, when I first saw Motley Crue, I said, holy shit, this is the next Kiss. That's what I thought. I was like, wow, there's some makeup going on. These guys are badass. They got a gimmick going on. I'm like, I like these guys. They had a great logo, that pentagram. Yeah, that doesn't mean I approve of Satan. I just think that shit's cool.
It shouts at the devil, not with him. Remember, that was in every one of their interviews.
Nobody's not at one point during that song is he like, I love Satan, so let's all calm down. I agree. Motley Crue, very important. Very important.
You know what the most important thing Motley Crue taught me?
Go ahead.
This is going to be a dick move right here. That truly, and to this day, one of my all-time favorite bands, and I feel this band blows away Motley Crue and most of the bands from that generation.
Okay.
Hanoi fucking rocks. Hanoi rocks to this day. Their last true album of that lineup, 1984, Two Steps from the Moves. Them first 4 albums blow away almost everything from the 80s. And it still sounds relevant today, 40 years later.
Unfortunately, Hanoi Rocks, and Mike knows exactly why Hanoi Rocks' lead singer died. Considering we're talking about Motley Crue, we all know the history there. Right? Correct. Which was the beginning of a derailment. Let's face it, one way or the other, as far as the public eye goes. That's what I remember about that. The death did not do that band any favors, regardless.
I got a strange question for you guys when it comes to that subject, and I have my feelings on it. Number one, do you think Vince did not show enough redemption for what happened that night? And number two, this is a hard question, a strange question, and people might get pissed off at it, but do you think retribution came down on Vince Neil when he lost his daughter?
Absolutely. You know what? I've said this for fucking years, okay?
Whoa. Go ahead.
I feel in the time that it happened, in that mid-'80s, 85, when the court thing and all that shit happened, I feel, yes, he did not, was not very remorseful, and I felt he was pretty much a fucking dick.
Yeah, agreed.
God rest his daughter's soul, and sadly, I feel that's what happened. I felt, it was an eye for an eye, and sadly, he lost his daughter, and even at that point, I still didn't have remorse for Vince, because I was still a young, snotty fucking asshole. But over time, I realized this guy has been through hell. He killed somebody that was his friend.
His very good friend. Not just a friend. They were like best friends. Yeah, they were best friends.
So he has to live with that. Then his poor young daughter dies. He lives with that. And whatever else he's gone through in his life, and I said, you know what? Like, I think that alone, I personally would not be able to live with those two things on my shoulders. It's a wonder why he's got alcohol as I'm fucking drinking and I have my own problems. But I feel he's I can honestly say about 10 years ago, as I've gotten older and matured, I feel his pain, and I think he finally deserves a pass. Wow.
Jimmy, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that, as usual, I don't want to sound, I don't know how it will come across, but this is my own truth. I draw lines. I don't have no longer, especially since we got involved in interviewing and doing the show and getting to know the wrestlers that we grew up loving and adoring as television characters that we adored. It's the same concept with rock bands. I hate hearing about the bad stuff, but I have to draw a line in my head. Unless you get too political, like I really don't care for any celebrity that gets too political. Yeah. I do have a drawing line, and I'm still able to listen to their music. So the bottom line to me is that Vince has fucked up a lot, but yeah, I get it. He's a fuck up. Should he have been really punished big time? Yeah, back then, yeah. But were they going to do that?
So So
hell no, there's too much money on riding on the line.
Wait a minute. So Jimmy,
somebody had gotten paid off. Somebody.
Jimmy, are you trying to say that?
I just said somebody got paid off.
No. In regards to Vince Neil,
yeah,
you could still listen to his music and still respect his music, but it's different from, like, let's pull it to wrestling with a Chris Benoit who murders his wife.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question.
That one you can't forgive.
It's a really good question, and you know my answer because I've always been consistent about this. Evil has different levels of evil, just like good has different levels of good. I know it sounds deep for most of you out there, but it's the truth. There's a difference between those two crimes. You know, one was two friends hanging out and getting drunk. What, you've never done that? I've done that. Oh my God, have I done that? You know, I remember one time me and my best buddy Curtis, and you know him, Mikey Curtis, lived around the damn corner from me. You know, we were drunk as skunks, but we wanted to go see the deer out in Riverhead. And we're driving, and Curtis is like, I think I see 16 lanes. I said, pick the middle one. You know, I mean, we were stupid. We were young. You know, there's a difference between that and Chris Benoit.
What do you think? What do you think, Chubby?
You know, I agree with Pharaoh over there. Like, Vince's was an accident. You know, Chris was not. And actually, I have my own wrestling similarity. First off, I knew Chris and Nancy from the ECW days. And that. Somebody just asked me this the other day on Facebook. That situation, as well as the Eddie Guerrero ones, hit me hard. But the guy that got me into the fucking wrestling business, the Rockin' Rebel, I don't know if you guys know him from the early ECW days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, me and Chuck, I mean, we were friends. We were business associates. You know, he did a lot of stuff when I was promoting shows. For me, I used to rent his license. I knew his girlfriend/wife from my first night of wrestling school. I met her and was friends with her. When they broke up, I used to hang out with her. She was dating one of my friends in the wrestling business. Then she went back to Rebel, and I've been doing podcasting for 12 years. My other show, which is like this, an entertainment show, where I do like hair band people and stuff like that. She used to be one of my sponsors. And so, like, I was very, very close to Chuck and Stephanie. And now you're going to get me fucking cry now, motherfuckers. The fact of what that fucking piece of shit did to that poor girl. He tortured that poor girl for years. Fucking years. And nothing will bring reality and hit you harder when you go to a funeral and you see her in a coffin and they had to rebuild her chest and it was a fucking piece of board there because he shot her fucking chest out. You know, so the people that know Benoit and stuff like that, and, you know, fucking burn in hell. I'm sorry. That fucking shit pisses me off. Fucking innocent people were taken.
Can I ask you your thoughts on when Chavo, you know, tried to defend Chris Benoit?
Relating it to the Rebel situation, I can't defend Chuck ever. No defense. No defense. You know, I have more of an idea, and people have more of an idea what happened in the Rebel situation compared to the Benoit situation, because there's so many different scenarios and holes, and who knows what happened. But at the end of the day, innocent people were fucking gone that didn't need to be gone. Nancy, Chuck's wife Stephanie, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human beings. I can't stress enough. And that fucking poor kid, Benoit's son. Oh, come on.
Chubby, let me go a little deeper than, you know, that we're venturing into this. You said you're on social media, on Facebook. Obviously, you see what we see, especially on this channel. I don't know how many people will defend Chris Benoit for his atrocities that he did to his family.
There will be people. People will defend, absolutely.
And what does that make you feel like?
Look, people defended OJ. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of, as he laughs, it's kind of comical.
It's true. I have to laugh.
You have to laugh.
Yeah, because you know what the alternative is, right, Chub? You know what the alternative is? I'll cry.
Yeah.
I'd rather laugh. You gotta laugh.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel? Is that just coming from the? I love when I read these. The wrestling purists feel that Chris Benoit should still be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
No, come
Your
on,
thoughts?
Stop. I look. You can't take away the amazing fucking athlete and
Oh, yeah.
worker Chris Benoit is.
True.
No denying. There's no
True.
fucking denying.
All true. Yep.
Absolutely.
Big fan of the wrestling work before.
But I can't. I can't watch his, I just personally can't watch his matches anymore. And when at night I'll be laying in bed and I'll be scrolling and clips of his matches will come up and I'll stop and I'll watch and I'll say, "The motherfucker can work. Boy,
Yeah.
could he work in that ring."
Yep.
But then it gets so just clouded by what he did.
Yep.
Well, let's go back to Rock and Rebel though, who you had an association with. Did you even see that coming, or did you see I've had many guests on the show where they've said they could see Benoit doing, they were not surprised. You saw that with Rebel.
Years prior, before they got married, he fucking held her hostage at gunpoint in a closet. And she still stayed with him because he always would threaten her. If you leave, I'm going to kill myself. If you leave, I'm going to kill myself. And supposedly that's what happened that night. She was going to leave and he fucking killed her and killed himself. And they had twin boy and girl. The fucking kids, they heard the gunshots and they came down and found their parents dead on the sofa. I mean, come on. I think the kids were 7 years old at the time. I think they're about 14, 15 now. Come on. How are those kids ever going to get that image out of their head?
Why was he built that way? You know him. Why was he built that way? What made him that way?
You know what? He was, I just had this conversation with my fiance the other day about a lot of people. Narcissist. Absolute narcissist.
The word.
That word
Yep.
is so important because so many people in our lives are like that, and we didn't know what it is. When you truly learn what that is, and you're around the people, I was married to one for 22 years, so I spot now
Understood
instantly.
Yeah.
As soon as it clicks in my head, I say, "Oh,
oh boy,
look out!"
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. You don't notice that the Pharaoh's a narcissist? What are you doing there, Chubbs?
What?
I haven't had one inkling yet.
What?
Yet.
By the way,
we're a half hour in.
By the way, and we're half hour in. We haven't even touched the interview yet. That's the funny thing.
Oh,
Todd Gordon wrote in and he said, "Chubster, where's your sunglasses, bro? Come on."
Todd is God. Where are the sunglasses?
Yo, Todd. I gotta text you. You're gonna piss yourself when I text you this. I just got texted before we went live, Todd. You're gonna pee yourself.
All right, guys, couple news items before we get to the great career and then what this great iconic wrestler has to promote.
ECW.
You're not talking about me, are you?
ECW.
Of course, listen, dude. If you step in the ring, you're iconic.
ECW, baby.
President Trump.
Yes.
A federal judge blocked Donald Trump's administration on Thursday from implementing the Republicans' executive decision on the birthright citizenship of the United States, calling it blatantly unconstitutional. If you guys don't know about this, I'm sure you are, but if people at home don't know about this, I don't know. But basically, they are trying to pass a law that even if you're born in this country, you are automatically a citizen. They're trying to get rid of that law, and right now it's been blocked. I'll open up with you, Chubbs. What are you thinking about this?
All right. I don't do politics at all. Because, and this is my honest to God true feeling, and I've had this feeling, believe it or not, since I was probably 6, 7 years old. I never believed in the president. I never believed in politicians. I'm my politician. I'm my president. I don't give two fucks about who, because I don't believe a word any one of them people say. I don't trust them. All they care about is themselves. They fuck us over every day. And the fact that our country is supposed to be United States and everybody's fighting for these pieces of shit that don't give two fucks about us, I boggles my mind. Boggles my mind.
That sounds like politics to me, by the way. So.
I stay out of it. I don't give two fucks.
He's aware of it, though.
Let's talk Motley Crue.
Yeah,
that's my politics.
He's aware of it, though, Mike, and that's fair enough. By the way, there's many times I've felt like that during my life. I will respond to it, though, Mike. My values have changed over the years. I'm as radical as the next radical traditional heavy metal head would ever be. Trust me. I mean, look at me, for God's sakes, right, Chubby? Good Lord. I look like I just stepped off the
stage.
How do you
still deal with that hair after all these years?
A lot of shampooing, a lot of conditioning, and a lot of patience.
And by the way, a little Mando.
I was going to say, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, Mando. Oh, yeah.
A little wrestling news. Our friend Conan oversteps boundaries with a claim against Britt Baker. As Britt Baker's professional wrestling reputation is challenged, her personal life is also under attack following the harsh accusations by ex-pro wrestling star Conan, if that's what you want to call him. Former Lucha Libre and WCW star Conan recently overstepped his ethical boundaries while discussing Britt Baker's situation in AEW following a report claiming Baker is widely unpopular in the women's locker room. Conan strayed from the professional issue by delving into her personal life on this podcast. So, thoughts on that? We'll open up with you, Jimmy. Britt Baker kind of getting shut down by Tony Khan. She's been also accused of cheating on Adam Cole. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? I'd cheat on that guy too, to be honest with you. But what are you thinking on our friend Conan? And by the way, Chubbs, Conan and Disco are not big fans of our show, so why not talk about it? Yeah, just not.
It's a little open season on Conan and Disco right now, but hey, they keep mentioning us for some reason, so we must mean something. Good. They must mean something in their world. They mean absolutely nothing to me, for the record. I will comment on the fact, though, that what would Conan really know about Britt Baker's situation in AEW?
He claims when he was in the back of their locker room for that short time. The other women didn't like her.
Oh, all right. Well, if he wants to report that, that's fine. People can decide whatever they want's going on behind the scenes, but I think Britt Baker is very good for the business. Whatever her personal problems, I'd advise her to get the hell out of there and go to the WWE. And they'll look at her seriously. She'll probably get paid better, work safer, and find the right niche for her because she's very talented. So until I hear something absolutely horrendous about her, I really don't give two shits what Conan has to say.
Chubbs, what are you thinking?
You know what? So here's the thing. When I left the business in the early 2000s, I didn't watch wrestling for 20 years. So I just started watching about a year and a half ago.
So you can't see John Cena. You missed the whole thing.
Thank God for that.
Wow. He is definitely a metalhead, Mike.
Wow.
And I agree with him. As a character, I couldn't see John for 20 years, but I saw John for 20 years.
Hey, he was great. What was that superhero show he did where he put over Hanoi Rocks and Pretty Boy Floyd and all? He did something good. I'll give him that. But you know what? So I really don't know Britt Baker. Adam Cole, I actually met him at a show like 10 years ago in Jersey. Seemed like a good kid, supposedly very talented. But I don't know them. I know Conan.
Chubbs, I got to ask you real quick on the Adam Cole thing. So you met him. Obviously, you know who he was, right? Mm-hmm. Now, here you are, a 300-pound, and you're a wrestler, right?
Here we go.
A wrestler.
Here we
this
go.
This guy's like 100 and
Would you stop picking on Adam Cole?
How does a guy like yourself, who came up in the industry, even respect that? I'm
here's why. Honest to God.
Spike fucking Dudley.
Before Spike. Even before Spike. Okay.
Okay.
I came up with Steve Corino. Steve Corino, I mean, as he got older, he put more weight on. But when he first started in the business, he was what Adam Cole was. And I used to think that to myself, like, damn, like, Steve's so tiny. Like, how could he be taken seriously?
Right.
But Steve Corino, being a working motherfucker, gained the respect and believability that you were like, oh, all right, I get it now. And when he went to ECW and everything he did, I was so happy for him. And actually, when ECW closed, I was promoting at that time. And my champion ended up being Al Perez. And he called me up begging. He's like, dude, please, you got to put me in there with Perez. And I did. But I love Steve Corino. But Steve Corino is the reason why I can believe in a small, thin guy like that.
He played very large. When he got his hand on a microphone, Mike, I'm telling you, Steve Corino.
Now, I don't know how Cole is on the mic, but Corino on the microphone.
Oh, my God.
One of the best there is.
I agree. I thought he was fantastic, but that's my opinion. That's my take on Steve.
Hey, look, you guys obviously have your right to your opinion. I'm at a point where I think there should be a cutoff point where a guy can be a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Not a Corino fan?
No, not really.
I agree with. I partially have always agreed with Mike, and it's because we were raised on WWF. They were large, and you know Vince's ideology, and we agreed with it because might usually does make right. There's a reason why that saying has been around for how long now. Might makes right. So when you'd see a larger guy in the ring, like a Sid Vicious, you'd go, "Okay, that's a big boy," or a Vader. Oh God, he's huge. They come in different forms. They don't always have to be, Captain Steroids. They come in different forms. Samoa Joe. Oh, God, it's Samoa Joe. Brock Lesnar. Obviously. Holy shit. Look out. It's Brock Lesnar. So I agree with
you.
Mike.
You don't even have to be that size, but you just can't be 140 pounds. I mean.
I got to admit,
Rey Mysterio was probably 140, 50 pounds
He's
in his ECW days. He was smaller than Spike. He was like 5'3". He was one of the smallest people ever saw in the ring.
But wait a minute. You always have that one person that is just the anomaly, right?
The exception.
And just has
the exception to the rule.
But you can't have 80 exceptions. It's just
nowadays,
doesn't fly.
That's the problem nowadays.
I'll agree with him with that.
But nowadays, that is the problem, Mike. I don't think Adam Cole is the problem. I think that who's the skateboarding dude that hangs out with Sting?
Orange. Well, you mean Darby Allin.
Darby Allin. Darby Allin to me is the problem. Orange is the problem, not Adam Cole. Adam Cole is a great wrestler.
Wait a minute, Jimmy. I got to be 100% honest with you, man. Seriously. If you're Adam Cole, you got to pick up a weight. You got to stop playing video games.
Well,
you got to hit the weights a little bit. You got a smoking hot girl like Britt Baker on your side, and you're going to look like that. Of course, she's going to cheat on your ass. I mean,
I was just going to say, what was the reason she cheated on him?
Well, she claims she didn't, but think about it. The dude looks like he plays video games.
Mike, Paige is free. Did you read about that today? Paige is free. She's getting divorced from her.
She was with Ronnie Radke. I didn't know even know that. I was shocked.
Yeah. They've called it quits. She's available.
Now you guys are making me ask another question. Chubby,
we'll go with
this. You're with a girl like Paige, right? And then you find out she does a video and she's getting pounded by two guys as they're blowing the load on her Divas Championship. At some point, do you go, I don't really want to be with her anymore. I don't want to have to think about every time I'm banging her, two guys pounding her from both ends.
I personally would not be able to be in a relationship with her now.
Would you at least sample her and then just toss her aside?
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay, good. All right.
Really?
He's normal. Mike,
you really want to? No. You see, but this is where I disagree with both of you. You don't want to sample. You don't want to sample that for the main reason is this.
Right.
All right. Let me put it this way.
Where's it been?
Yeah, I'll use a quick
we know.
story.
We already know.
But I'll use a quick story, right?
Let's go to the video.
Chubby, you know Matt Riddle?
Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I know who he is. Yeah.
All right. So Matt Riddle, from watching videos, has a fairly substantial hog between his legs, right? And we used to have a female co-host on the show who used to date Matt Riddle. Anyway, our old studio owner had the hots for this former co-host, and he thought he was going to hook up. And my point to him was, dude, even if it was going to happen, do you really want to be compared to that fucking hog? Because it's like you have no chance. You got to know when to fold it, right? You know.
There you go. Hey, that's funny.
Listen, so let me ask you this. So
I was warned earlier. When I announced I was coming on here tonight, I got
warned.
They're like, you better watch. Those guys are fucking crazy. I was like, oh, I know. I said I've seen some of their shit. They're like the fucking Howard Sterns of wrestling.
So let me ask you this question. You give up the band, right? You gave up the hairstyle. Is it a natural transition to become a wrestler?
What did he play? Did I miss that part?
I played guitar. Okay. I ended up playing in a band. Like, it's funny because when I ended up going into the wrestling business and I was in wrestling school for a while, I ended up breaking my leg in wrestling, my ankle in wrestling school. So I'm fucking out for 6 months, and I still had one of my best friends was living with me, and he's like, well, let's put a band together. I'm like, all right. So we put this fucking band together, and I buy a cheap guitar, and I'm buying amps again, and we started playing. We put a band together. And we were called the Dead Gerber Babies, and yeah. It was like a cross.
What are you nodding for, Mike? That's a ridiculous name. What's wrong?
Well, no, listen, no, because I'm thinking of myself.
The Dead Gerber Baby.
There's no chance in hell, and even if you were a great band, someone's signing you with that name.
Oh no!
Oh no! That you know what's funny? I actually I don't even know if I still have, but I sent
Gerber Baby.
I sent demos out to like labels, and one of the ones I sent that actually answered was the lead singer of Offspring started a punk label because we sounded we sounded like Motorhead meets Pantera.
Cool.
And,
that's cool.
That's got my interest.
I'm telling you, it was fucking badass. And actually, so do you guys know who Gigi Allen is?
Of course, I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what the band was like. The band was Motorhead.
No, wait. Slow down. You weren't like pooping on anybody though, right?
No. My lead singer, my best friend since kindergarten, he used to fucking get naked on stage, break bottles. I told him how to gig, so he would like fucking gig his fucking head and bleed all over, and then he would start chasing people through the crowd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a scene.
Yeah. Sounds very violent. Sounds like I would not want to be at that show, Mike. I'd be afraid.
I don't know. I'm glad.
You'd be right up in the front row.
You're probably right.
So
you are.
How do you become a professional wrestler, though? Like, what? How does that transition happen?
So that when I went back to the music thing, it was funny because we would start playing, and then I'd be wrestling, and then I would always go back and forth. But 1990, when I sold all my equipment, joined wrestling school, Rock and Rebel worked his day job. He was a trash man, and my brother-in-law worked with him. And when I was like, all right, I can figure out how do I get in the wrestling business, he said, oh, this guy I work with is a wrestler, he said. And he took me one night to meet him, and Rebel was like, don't go to the Monster Factory. I just got together with this guy, Joel Goodhart, and the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, the TWA. Here's his number. Call him and set up a tryout. And that's what I did. And went there, tried out, and paid my down payment. And 2 months later, started training.
Wow. Now, how much does it cost at that point?
At that point, it was $2,400. I put $1,000 down and $75 a week.
Wow.
And it was, you know what though? It was a good deal because the way he worked it was, when your training was done and you would start working matches, instead of getting paid, your $30 to $50 depending on the house, he would just knock that off your tuition.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Good. So when do you meet this guy? Todd is God.
It's funny. The very first independent show I went to was Tri-State Wrestling Alliance Autumn Armageddon 1990. September of '90, and I started wrestling school 2 days later. And Todd ring announced 1 or 2 matches, and I said to myself, "Who the fuck is this guy? They're putting this guy as a ring announcer." And then, lo and behold, I find out that Todd was one of the backers. I find out later. But I didn't actually meet Todd until Joel folded in January of '90. They decided a few weeks later they were going to restart ECW. And I was there. I used to be at every show of Tri-State. And then I was there at every show early on of ECW. And Jimmy Janetti was the one that kept getting in Todd's ear, because I was part of the Hell Riders tag team at the time. He's like, you got to give them a chance. Give them a chance. Give them a tryout. And Todd, who was, I don't know if he was president or vice president of Variety Club Telethon. Was it Variety Club? I forget what it was. And Todd's going to kill me. I think it was Variety Club. He would do every summer a show for the kids. And he let us try out there. And it was me and my partner, HD Ryder, against Stevie Richards and the Delaware Dynamo. We had our match, and made the grade and started working all the shows from there on out until Eddie got rid of us.
Do you think that Todd, in the end? See, we're big fans and friends of Todd in general.
Me and Todd have rekindled our friendship over the last year, and I love it.
Over even recently, when I came up to New York and we were at a convention, a wrestling convention, there was this giant long line, and to me it was very symbolic. It was very long. It was the longest line of all the famous names that were there that day, and Mike confirmed that there were some famous people there from the business, whether they were Ric Flair, whether they were, the Dudley. We saw the Dudley boys there. We saw, Bobby Lashley. We saw some big names. MJF was there. There was a lot of big names. And the longest line of all was for Paul.
Of course.
Meanwhile, placed in front of the line for Paul, I saw Todd's table. And I feel like I have to ask you this question because to me and Mike, well, I don't know, Mike should, of course, as always, speak for himself. But to me, did Todd get screwed in the end? Plain and simple.
Ooh. See, Todd's going to beat my ass now. I have not finished listening to his fucking book that he's been on my ass for 6 months too. So I don't know the honest to God details of how everything went down. If I knew the honest to God details, I could tell you my feelings if he was truly screwed over or not.
Then I'm asking you, how do you personally feel? You have your own opinions
about if he was screwed over.
Yeah.
See, you know what? Again, when I walked away in '96 as a Dudley in ECW, I was very angry and bitter. And what I've done with the wrestling business, when I get angry and bitter for the business, I turn it off. So I turned it off, and I didn't watch any wrestling for about a year and a half until their pay-per-view. And I was very, very happy and proud.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. Why were you angry and bitter?
Because when I was brought in as a Dudley, I thought I was going to work. And I was not given the opportunity. And as I've been on record saying many, many times. So I came in. What happened was the Dudley gimmick starts, and I just happened to flip on the ECW thing on that Tuesday. It used to be on Tuesdays at 5 or 6, and the Dudleys debut. And I was like looking at it. I'm like, oh shit, I look like these guys. And turned out it was Little Snot, Dudley, Big Dick. Little Snot was in a car accident or something. I don't know. I've never met him. but he was injured and he was out, and they needed a replacement. Steve Richards calls me. He goes, "Hey, we got this new gimmick." It was literally a week later. Calls me up. "Hey, I got this. We got this Dudley gimmick. Have you seen it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I think you'd be perfect for it. Are you interested?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Come down to the Philly Airport Marriott. I'll introduce you to Paul, and let's see what happens." I was like, "All right." So me and Richards are talking in the lobby, and up comes walking Paul, and he just takes a look at me. He's like, "Oh my God, another fucking Dudley." His exact words. And Richards is like, "This is the guy I was telling you about." He says, "Do you have a tie-dye?" I said, "No." He said, "Get a tie-dye." He's like, "What do you want your gimmick to be?" I said, "I always wanted to be like a gorgeous Jimmy Garvin character." I said, "I want to be Studley Dudley." And he just looks at me and goes, "Not going to work. Not happening. Bring food, get a tie-dye, you're Chubby Dudley, see you next week." That was it. That was it. I'm like, okay.
So that's what's with the snacks. Okay.
That was it. So I show up next week, and I didn't know that my first night, we worked the Steiners. Dances with Dudley starts the same night. Dances teamed up with Dudley, and they took on the Steiners. And honestly, I was quite thankful because all I kept saying to myself is, "Please don't let me take a Frankensteiner. Please don't let me take." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Next night, I don't even remember what the next night was at the arena. I don't remember what the match was, but I just became part of the sideshow. I was not given chances to work. So then, a couple months later, Bubba comes in, and I've been on record to say this, and when Bubba first came in, I was like, well, shit, he's green as fuck. I can work better than Bubba. And I was like, all right. But kept going with it. I'm like, just stick with it. You'll get a chance. Stick with it. You'll get a chance. Then Devon comes in. Same thing. I'm like, eh. But I saw the big picture. I was like, all right, I can see, because I'm seeing Bubba's getting better. It's not like he was blowing his opportunity. Same thing with Devon. They're both getting fucking better. Meanwhile, I was getting lazier because now I'm just like, well, hey, I just show up and I'm on TV every week. I'm in magazines every month. I'm getting recognized everywhere I go and signing autographs and all this shit. After the shows, I'm at the hotel and people are buying me drinks. They're asking me if I want drugs, and I'm with all the groupies and everything. I'm like having the time of my life. I'm living a Motley Crue dream. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck it. I'm just not going to rock the boat. I'm just going to have fun and go with it. And then things were going. Then the feud with Bubba and Devon was getting hotter and hotter. And then Spike came in. And I was like, okay. Well, this is weird because this dude's 120 pounds. Nice guy. I mean, I think I left after a month of being there with Spike, but one night we were sitting there talking, and he said to me, I said, well, where are you from? He's like, oh, California. And in my head, because I'm also, what a lot of people didn't know, I was promoting shows from 94 through 2002. So I'm like, California? I live 15 minutes down the fucking road, and they're flying this guy in from California. I'm like, something's wrong here. So after a month, I was just like very frustrated. I had things going on in my personal life, and I was just like, fuck it. I'm going out here. I'm getting whacked with chairs, put through tables, getting concussions, and I don't see any end game in sight. And I think also, too, a lot of stuff on the flip side, I think, I did myself my own harm because I only went to Philadelphia area shows, whether it was in PA or like if they did random Delaware shows or if it was some stuff close by. I never went to the New York shows because I had to make a living. I was delivering pizzas at the time, and Fridays and Saturday nights was my money nights. I had to fucking pay my bills, so I wasn't gonna take off my Friday and Saturday and lose to go up to New York and pay all that fucking money and not get paid. And yeah, so that hurt me. And another thing that hurt me was I was very good friends with Dennis Carluzzo.
And what does that have to do with anything?
Oh, there was the whole war of the Carluzzo versus ECW versus NWA, and there was one night because Dennis used to beg me. Hey man, fuck those guys. Come work with me. I'll fucking pay you. I'll put you on every show. I'll let you work. And one night I said, fuck it. I'll go work. And I went and I fucking worked for Dennis. And it was funny because I walked in the dressing room and who's sitting there? Sabu. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, getting paid. He's like, exactly, getting paid. I was like, all right. So, I think that like hurt me too. They knew I did that because it was in the fucking sheets and all.
Then I got to ask you this, man. Did this guy hurt you too? Here's my question to you.
Okay.
A few questions. Number one, obviously iconic, ended up being an iconic tag team wrestler and one of the all-time greats. I can't deny that. But to me, it seems to me as a human being, he's very political when it comes into wrestling.
Okay.
I think he's very self-centered and very short-minded in a lot of different ways. And I'm speaking as a fan, dude. I'm not a wrestler like you, so I'm just giving you my opinion as a fan. So my question to you was, Bully Ray very political and fucked people over back when you were around there, and that's why he was able to jump you like he did? And then how did he treat you personally?
Okay, so in those days of 95, 96, me and Bubba had, in my opinion, a great fucking relationship. He was also a fellow hairband fucking metal guy. And we used to, this is honest God, we used to talk about putting a band together, Bubba on drums, Sign Guy playing guitar, me playing bass, and Raven singing. Like, we had a great, fun relationship, very respectful, and never any issue. I never had to worry about Bubba, Devon, Sign Guy. We honestly, the Dudleys at that point, in my opinion, were truly like brothers. We looked out for one another. Big Dick was truly the big brother and protector to us. Very, kayfabe about the gimmick, and would work that gimmick. And yeah, I mean, I never had an issue with, and I have not spoken to him in 20 years.
Listen, I know we got a lot to promote here, and I'm kind of all over the place because you're bringing up some really interesting subjects, and I gotta get answers. I'm gonna first stick with Bubba Ray for 1 second.
Yeah.
He obviously is on Busted Open Radio, which is probably the most popular wrestling podcast out there, if you want to call it a podcast.
Sure.
It's not a broadcast like us, Jimmy, who, by the way, Chubby, we are on New York cable, seen by over 150,000 people weekly.
Am I cursing too much?
No, you're fine.
No, you're fine.
Not to mention, we've just joined Stripes TV, so you can catch Monte and the Pharaoh on Stripes TV. But my question to you here, Chubby, is this. Bully Ray, when fans call and they may use some wrestling lingo like green or work or whatever, he flips out because he feels that if you weren't in the business and you never took a bump, you have no right to use wrestling lingo. What are your thoughts being a wrestler on that?
I mean, I get it. I totally get it. But you can only agree with that to a point because the internet fucking changed. The internet and ECW changed everything. It just broke down the doors. It broke down the walls. And everybody thinks they're in the fucking business now, even if they're not. Okay? So here's the way I'll relate it like this. And this is kind of similar to what Bubba says. And I agree with him to a point. But, I mean, come on. The fucking the doors and walls have been so busted down, and
well, isn't it like the point? You guys were talking. You're going to be a band and try to play in a band, but you didn't, right? So, like,
No.
you were a guitarist, right? Jimmy actually was in one of the top bands in Long Island, New York, for a very long time.
Was it Pharaoh?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here.
Absolutely.
I was going to say to you earlier, did you know the band Pharaoh?
Oh, you're asking if it was the band Pharaoh? No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, the name of the band, ironically, considering I'm a McDaniel now, was named War Dance. And it was quite Indian based, so I find that ironic. I appreciate the shout out, Mike. The bottom line is that the top paper at the time created an award that they're still giving out to this day because of War Dance. It was good times. I appreciate you bringing that up.
But no problem. But back to the point. So if we stick by the rules that you can't use lingo if you weren't part of something,
that's bullshit.
But hold on. Bully Ray loves music, but at no point should he use the word riff or I don't know. Give me some other musical
chord,
lingo.
harmony.
Shut the fuck up. Then you didn't play in a band. You have no right to say those words.
Here's, it's funny though.
He's being that absolute about it, Chubb. That's why we're trying to hammer this home. He's basically saying, now listen, we've never claimed to be in the business, right, bro? I mean, we never have. We're fans, and the internet has afforded us the right to have an opinion. So when someone like Bully Ray says to us, we absolutely cannot use wrestling terms, that's very insulting to me, because I think about people like Gordon Soley. Gordon Soley wasn't a wrestler. Are you going to tell me with a straight face Gordon Soley had no right to talk about professional wrestling? Of course he did. It's like, stop it. Mike Francesa up in New York is a very respected longtime broadcaster. He was never officially of anything other than an announcer, but he knows his sports. So we deserve the right to feel like we are allowed to go and use a term like green. We know what it is. Like you said yourself, the curtain was torn down a long, long time ago. We know what kayfabe means. We know what shoot means. We know what work means. Why are we not allowed to use them? That's our point.
Here's the thing. I started wrestling school September of 1990. When I started and was being taught the business by my initial trainers, Larry Winters and Ron Shaw and Johnny Hotbody and Tony Stetson.
Nice class.
Those guys taught you not only in the ring, but outside the ring. Now, from September of 90 to, say, September of 1995, the business completely fucking changed. You know?
Yeah.
I'm being taught in 1990, 91, 92, etc., to work light, work smooth, don't lay it in, don't potato anybody. Fast forward to 1995, I'm in matches and I'm saying, you better fucking hit me, because if you don't hit me, I'm going to fucking hit you, because you had to lay it in, because everything was changed in that short of time span. Once ECW changed everything, and the internet, how look, how could you say that? I mean, seriously, everybody, the smart marks, back then it was the smart marks. The smart marks know the fucking business better than some of the workers. So, I totally get what he's saying, and I understand it, but you can't police that. I mean, how are you going to police that? Seriously.
All right, let's move on to another question. You mentioned Sabu recently, just a few minutes ago. It's widely known that at some point Sabu, back in the Explosion Attitude Era, when WCW was paying guys, tons and tons of money, Sabu was going to sign a contract, and Paul Heyman screwed him out of the contract because he didn't want him leaving ECW. Okay. Do you think Heyman should have remorse for what he did in order to keep his business going?
Paul should probably have a lot of remorse, but Paul won't.
Where's that come from? Does that come from his connection to Vince? Because in the end, he wound up with Vince, let's face it. And I wonder sometimes about his conscience.
Well, I also want him to elaborate, Jimmy, like, why won't he have remorse? I mean...
That's just Paul's makeup. And look, I don't know Paul well at all. I haven't spoken to Paul since 1996, but the Paul that
You mentioned he didn't pay you.
no.
All right, so I have a problem with that. Number one, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel about that.
Absolutely.
But so I was going to ask earlier. Was Paul consistent and fair with you and your pay? And the answer must obviously be no. Correct?
So again, I never had those conversations with Paul about
Where's the money?
After
Who
that,
are you having the conversations with? Where's the money?
Exactly. So at the end of the night, it would be at the end of the weekend. Okay.
All right.
Everybody's going up and getting their pays for the weekend, and I would be in line, and I would get a handshake, and I was like, okay, well that's fucking weird. Like, and after like a few times of just getting a handshake, I was like, fuck it. I see what this is, and I'm just going to milk it for what I can milk it for.
Right. Right. How about the fact that I feel like Paul's turned his back on a lot of people in ECW over the years? Do you have any feelings about that?
I think Paul turned his back on people, but also too, there's a good and bad side to Paul, as there is with all of us. Look, all right, we're all fucking human. Paul, as a business person, obviously not the best. Got way in over his head, didn't know how to fucking handle things, or we would still have an ECW today.
Well, let's not forget that his parents gave him $2 million too. I mean, let's call it like it is, right?
By the way,
he was lucky enough.
Yeah, he was.
All right, you're on the spot before we start promoting everything. And again, thank you for coming on the show. I love your candid answers, but this is a very difficult situation, and it's going to be a difficult question. Is Tommy Dreamer a better wrestler than a can of paint?
What?
Is Tommy Dreamer a better wrestler than a can of paint? If I put a can of paint in a ring and Tommy Dreamer, who's a better wrestler?
Tommy Dreamer versus a can of paint. I'm with the can of paint, Mike.
I am too, honestly.
That.
Here we go.
I see. This is now. That's a very disrespectful fucking comment.
Oh, I knew.
All right.
I can tell you're in trouble.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
All right, go ahead.
Have either of you guys, were you ever in the ECW arena at its peak?
I wasn't for. Listen, I'm on record with how long have we been doing this, Mike? We've been doing this 7 years?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. And YouTube for only 4. I'm on record. ECW is my favorite company of all time. Mike always laughs at me. He's like, "Why?" I have so many different reasons.
Let me get the joke.
I did see ECW at a high school.
But wait a minute.
I saw them several times at a high school in New York.
Put that joke aside. Honestly, is Tommy Dreamer overrated? And I mean that. I'm really asking that question.
Here's what I'm going to say about Tommy. Tommy is, first off, great fucking guy. Number 2, respectful fucking guy. Still to this day, one of, not everybody, when I see them, will go out of their way to say, "Oh, yo, Chubbs, what's up? How are you doing?" Okay. Eddie Guerrero was another guy like Tommy Dreamer that went out of his way when he saw me before he passed and did that. Tommy, great fucking a mind, knows how to fucking get the best out of stuff, knows how to work stuff. And is he a fucking is he a Chris Benoit in the ring? Is he a Rey Mysterio in the ring? No. But just because you can't work that style doesn't mean you're not a great worker. Tommy went in there and had amazing feuds with fucking Raven, Sandman, and all these people. They might not be. Sandman's another one. They might not give you 5-star matches in technical or athletic ability, but they're giving you 5-star matches in ring psychology, which means just as much.
So what you're saying is Dreamer's got a great mind for the business. He's
Mhm.
not the best worker, and he probably has really bad mic skills. But well, he does. I mean, look, listen, I'm not a wrestler. He's got better mic skills than I do. That's
Right.
probably not,
What
but
I
probably
for
not. But
for me being a fan back in the day, I gravitated much more to Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Sandman, the Dudley Boys.
can of paint.
But Tommy Dreamer, not the Can of Paint. The Can of Paint never got signed. I don't know why. You
Sorry.
stop that.
Damn it.
But Tommy Dreamer to me was just so vanilla. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't get a great reaction from the crowd, and I'm not saying he didn't work the crowd right.
Here's the
He
thing.
did. He
Also,
just did
too,
nothing for me. That's all I'm saying. As a
if
wrestling fan, he did nothing for me. Nothing.
if Tommy didn't have Hack, Raven, if he didn't
Right.
have those
Right.
things around him,
Mhm.
then he would probably end up being a can of paint.
Right.
Now,
enough.
you know what?
Fair
That's a really smart answer. Once
Fair
again,
enough.
fantastic. Okay, man, here's the moment.
Uh-oh.
You, Joe Goodhart, give us a skinny. Let's talk about this whole deal,
No,
brother.
you mean give us the chubby.
Give it the chubby.
Give us
Oh my God. This whole fucking thing has been unbelievable. A year ago, in case you don't know, I enjoy to drink wine. So I'll sit here at night while I'm doing stuff, whatever, have some glasses of wine. About a year ago, I was on a podcast, and they were big fans of Joel and the TWA. They started asking me about that, and I probably had maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 glasses, too much of wine at that point, and I went on a tirade. And I started just going off about how, Joel and Hotbody and Stetson, Larry Winters, DC Drake, those 5 guys have just been totally looked over. And the importance of what they did in Philadelphia, hardcore wrestling, really opened the doors for what became ECW and Extreme Championship Wrestling. And everybody that walks into that 2300 arena now, formerly ECW arena, should be reminded of who started it all, because it's those 5 guys. Without those 5 guys, we don't have shit. We wouldn't be talking today. And I said they need to raise a banner. I don't understand why there's not a banner paying tribute to these 5 guys. Well, it started taking off. Like, people started saying, you're right. You need to do this. You need to push this. And then other people started coming to me, more podcasts and interviewing me, and I started going on a tirade. And then I was like, all right, well, let me start ringing the bells of 2300 Arena, get their attention. So I started doing that, and they weren't answering. I said, all right, well, let me do this. Let me start a petition, and let me see if I can get this petition going and raise more interest and get things going. So I did that, and then it started taking off. And then Joe Goodhart calls me up, and he's like, yo, how would you feel about restarting the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance? And I said, no, absolutely not. Not doing it, not getting involved, don't want no parts of it. He's like, why? I'm like, no. I'm like, Joel, we've been out of the business, 20 plus years, you 30 plus years. No. He's like, I think we need to do this. I'm like, no, not doing it. And he kept calling me for a couple weeks. Finally, he said to me, he goes, how about this? How about we do one show? I'm like, okay. What are you thinking? He's like, we do one show. We call it One and Done. Commit right there. One and done. I said, okay. He's like, let's get this banner situated. Let's see if we can get the banner raised. We'll do a show called One and Done. And we won't do it for a year. I said, now you have my attention. Because it's going to take a year to pull this together, to do it right. So we started in May of 2024 putting this thing together. And finally, we got the attention of the arena. And they said, we've been watching. We've been seeing what you're doing. we're calling your bluff. You want to raise this banner? Get 1,000 signatures. You said you're going to get 1,000 signatures? Get 1,000 signatures on your petition. You can raise the banner. So as of right now, tonight, we are at 817 signatures. So we're still working on that. Then we started putting the show together. So Joel turned around and said, look, you're the booker. Book the show. He gave me Larry Winter's job, the late, great Larry Winters. So I've been booking the show. I have the show pretty much booked. And I'm telling you this. I am so proud of this fucking show. And I am so honored that Joel gave me the opportunity to do this, because Joel Goodhart, from day one, it's funny because we're on the phone a half dozen times a day. We will laugh, we'll cry, we'll holler, we'll scream, we'll curse each other out on a daily basis. And from day one, that guy has been a true father figure to me, going back to 1990. And, a lot of people might not know this about me. My father passed away when I was 4 years old. So I never really had a true father figure. And then Joel came into my life, and he was like the first true man that, for some reason, stuck by me and kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And when I wanted to quit wrestling school, because I didn't think I had it, Joel said, come to the wrestling school. I have something to help you. And he comes walking in with Paul Orndorff and Buddy Landell to work with me.
Mm.
Joel, I fucking love that guy to death, and I'm forever indebted to him. And I plan to make him and that Philadelphia audience that night so proud of this show. And the fact that we pulled off his unicorn and made the announcement yesterday, now the buzz is getting out there, and people, I had to put a post on Facebook because I was getting angry today. I was hit up at the point I put the post out to please, the show has been booked for 4 months. So please stop asking me for work. I got hit up 4 more times after that. This show is going to be so special, and it's a true tribute to what Joel, Larry, Tony, Johnny, and Drake did, and the whole locker room of the TWA. Because if people don't know, from 1989 to 92, when the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance was running, they were the hottest federation there was. Every month, they were in every magazine, and they were the talk of the country, if not the world, of the wrestling business. When he walked away and Todd took over, it was a whole new ball game. And if it wasn't for truly Paul, Eddie was starting to put things on the right track, but then he walked away. But if it wasn't for Paul doing what Paul did, we might not have anything. But I know that for a fact, if it wasn't for what Joel and Tri-State Wrestling Alliance did, we would have nothing.
Feels to me like it's a return to a point of origin. To me, everything has a point of origin, and it looks like you're finally going to get your due, and especially with the historical significance of that arena itself. That's got to feel good, because that is the point of origin. And yes, your company was the most violent, if you will, before ECW, and I do agree that without Paul, are we even... especially with today's internet and generation and stuff, are we even recognizing your contribution? So that's a good thing to hear.
This show too, it's truly, like you said, it's a true full circle, because it's one and done in so many ways. Joel has a lot of health issues. So this is truly one and done for Joel. Joel has said to me, and then he has said to also the others in the locker room, if you want to take the TWA name and continue on, you're more than welcome. And no, this is it. This is one and done. This is the perfect way to end it. Put it to rest. So we have Joel's last show. Tony the Hitman Stetson's coming out of retirement, and he's working a lumberjack match.
Are you kidding me?
The TWA alumni will be the
God.
lumberjacks, and he's wrestling his former partner Michael Bruno in a match. And now here's the crazy thing: in 2008, Michael Bruno restarted the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance with Joel's blessing, but a year later, he bought the ECWA from Jim Kettner in Delaware.
Okay.
And shut down Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. So he's got a lot of heat with the TWA old school boys for doing that.
Right.
So we got Stetson versus Bruno as one of the matches.
Right.
It's Tony Stetson's last match. 66 years of age.
I love hearing the Stetson name because I do know what it meant to the contributions to ECW. I know who Tony Stetson is. To me, that's a very, very cool thing. If you get the banner, if you can pull this off, what are you? You're 183 votes shy right now.
Absolutely.
Of getting the 1,000, if I'm doing my math correctly, being the son of an accountant.
What is the official? What is the official date of the event?
May 3rd at the 2300 Arena. So we're doing a convention in the afternoon from noon to 3:30, where we just announced we got Ric Flair, which Rick is Joel's unicorn. Joel was the NWA / WCW Philadelphia promoter for many years in the late 80s, early 90s. Rick was always Joel's favorite, and Joel always was trying to get Rick to wrestle for the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. And there was a point there when he got let go from Crockett and all that and Hurd, where he was possibly going to, but then Vince scooped him up. But he was going to do something with Buddy Rod. So that Joel tells a story, and Joel's going to come on here and tell that whole thing for you guys. But he did a banquet in 90 or 91 where he presented Rick with a Wrestler of the Decade belt. And we have a trailer out there now. Back in October, we had a meeting at Joel's house, and we're doing a documentary about all this stuff too. We were filming things for the documentary, and it's funny. Joel said, "There's one guy." This is before Joel had confirmed things. He said, "There's one guy that's never worked for me who I've always wanted to come in and work for me." And then it pans to Ric Flair, and that was the trailer we dropped yesterday. So we got Flair, we got the Rock and Roll Express going to be at the convention. They are also wrestling that night. We have a 6-man with the Rock and Rolls and Ricky's son Kerry taking on the 3 Backseat Boys. So it's kind of a Back to the Future match, the best of the old versus the best of the new. We have, Joel might kick my ass for doing this, but I'm gonna drop it now. Fuck it, right? So
yeah, drop it.
We have a second generation match of ladies whose fathers worked for Joel. We have, and this one's going to ruffle your feathers. I'm waiting for the questions on this one. We have the daughter of Terry Bam Bam Gordy, Miranda Gordy.
Right. Wow.
Taking on the daughter of Tully Blanchard, Tessa Blanchard.
Oh, nice.
And
nice.
We've just announced those 2. We've had actually a 3-way booked, and we've been just waiting for the official word and confirmation that NWA has given this lovely lady permission. We have the daughter of Baby Doll, Samantha Starr, is joining us for a 3-way fucking dance, second generation match.
Oof.
All 3 fathers worked and mothers, Baby Doll, and Baby Doll will be there as well that day at the convention. So, awesome. Yeah, it's going to be a great fucking show.
Dude, Jimmy, I'm going to have to go to that one. That's freaking awesome there.
That match alone, I'm very intrigued about the booking on that one.
Right,
but
now,
I'm sure he's not going to reveal that.
Now I have to ask a question, and this is going to be a tough one.
I know this question.
Promoter, right? Well, it's going to be like kind of a 2-way, right? We all know what happened to Hogan at the Netflix debut, pretty much getting booed out of the arena, and Tessa Blanchard made her return to TNA to the chance of you're a racist. Do you think,
come on,
one, Hogan, according to Mark Henry, did not apologize, and Tessa Blanchard also should apologize to the fans? Again, I was not there. I never heard anything. To me, it's all hearsay anyway.
Sure.
What is your feeling? You feel that people should have to apologize to get in good graces of the fans?
It don't hurt. An apology would never hurt. A sincere apology would never hurt. You know, look, Hogan is one of the top 2 names all time of this business. I've had many feelings about Hogan for many years. I respect what he did for the business, but I've heard many nightmare things about the guy. I don't know if what happened was yay or nay, or true or false. I don't know. But you've made buku millions of dollars over the years. You're still doing it. You're trying to pawn off your new beer. Well, why can't you just say, I'm human, I fucked up, I'm sorry? I mean, is it really that hard? It's not. It's really not. So I don't understand that. And the same goes for Tessa. And here was my thing. When I presented this match to Joel, and I said to him, I said, look, Tessa's got a lot of fucking heat. She's been pretty much blackballed from the United States. And this was 6 months ago when I presented this match to Joel. We've been in talks with Tessa for months, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And then she was like, look, I'm in contract negotiations. I can't say with who, but once it's finalized, I will make sure I am clear for this date to work for you guys, and we'll take it from there. So once she told us everything was good to go, we got it, I said, all right, we're good. Now, it happened the other night, like you said, the chance she's a racist. And I was asked on Facebook, somebody came to me and said, did you see what happened? You're probably going to get shit at the arena. And I said, look, it's going to, by the time it hits the arena in 4 months, it's going to die down some. I feel, and this was my opinion going into this, Tessa's human. I'm human. We're all fucking human. I make fucking mistakes every goddamn day. Okay? And I hope somebody, if I make a truly bad mistake, will give me a second chance, and I'll make sure not to make that mistake again. That's what I felt I was doing for Tessa. Because at that point, nobody in the U.S. was giving her a chance. So I was hoping, let me give her the chance in the United States on what I feel is a very high-profile show for 2025. Let me give her the chance to hopefully redeem herself. If she can take the ball and run with it and do good, that's great. If she fucks up afterwards, that's on her. I will give her the chance, that second chance.
I think she's worth every single second of it.
I think she's probably one of the, male or female.
Yep.
She might be one of the top 2 or 3 workers in the world right now.
She's great. She's absolutely great, and I think that was a great idea. But I will say this, as a wrestling fan, underline and circle that, please. Mm-hmm. Most respectfully, I do not relate to whatever you may feel about Hulk Hogan, and that doesn't mean you personally. That what I'm talking about is those thousands of people who call themselves wrestling fans, who don't realize that there is no Raw Netflix debut without a Hulk Hogan, who built WrestleMania, who built, then he does a heel turn and he rebuilds wrestling again because there's no Attitude Era without a bad guy Hogan to counter, because the NWO is kicking the shit out of Vince McMahon in the ratings. How many times has Hulk Hogan changed this business? And you said, when do you get a second chance? They say to forgive is divine. I saw no such divination that night towards Hulk Hogan. He hasn't killed anybody. He hasn't been busted for drugs. He said
Yeah,
some
no.
bad things. I don't know. When does it become? When does it become too long of an apology?
I think it's like this, Jimmy. To add on to it is, he who's out sin cast the first stone, right?
Well,
It's
that story. We all do.
Enough.
Yeah.
Listen, he made a mistake. He's made many mistakes, right?
Yes.
But we've all made many mistakes. So
just
it's
like Chubby said.
And you know what? That's the funny thing, because you have, they were in front of 15,000 people that night for Raw. All 15,000 people, or however many were booing, probably did way fucking worse than what Hogan did.
I'm gonna add on to it. Like, for example, Mark Henry, the minute that went down, went to TMZ and talked about how he asked Hogan to go to the black colleges and speak and talk to people about what he did to get forgiveness. But again, everybody also has an agenda, Chubby, too, right?
Of course.
So, again, not to make it a Tommy Dreamer thing, but his partner on Busted Open Radio, Tommy Dreamer, when he got shut down for saying, well, that's Ric Flair being Ric Flair, it's okay, he puts his dick on some lady that's just having a good time. He didn't make Tommy Dreamer or ask Tommy Dreamer to go to battered women's shelters and ask him to make amends with them. So, again, agenda, if people truly cared what people said, I get it, but I always feel like there's an agenda, and that's the issue I have.
Of course. And when Tommy said that, it kind of sucks, because on one hand, what he said is fucking true. Right. That's what you get with Ric Flair. Sad but true. That's what
Chubby,
you fucking get.
I wasn't offended by what he said, but people got offended. But my point is that Mark Henry is okay with talking about Hogan, but his own partner, his brother, who he does a show with, he doesn't hold that guy to the same fire as Hogan.
He should definitely
it doesn't work for him.
Yeah, he should definitely at least take it to task. I feel that Mark Henry picks on Hogan constantly because Hogan is a name. There's a lot of jealousy involved in the wrestling business. Let's be real about this, okay? Love or hate Hulk Hogan, he's got to be like the highest level of jealousy I've seen towards someone. Mike and I have interviewed hundreds of wrestlers, and every single one of them that we've had on that wrestled back during Hogan's time period liked the person and was glad to be on a card with him because it meant that they were going to make more money that night.
Paydays, exactly.
That's what we learned about Hulk Hogan. I personally
But you know what? How did they really, truly, personally feel about it? Not where it was affecting their wallet.
Right.
Well, because everybody, you know what? Chubby, you're right, bro. It's like, how did they really feel about him? They liked him at the time because they made him money. You know what?
Right.
Makes a lot of sense. By the way, I want to remind everybody, May 3rd, it's a big card. That three-way is hot, man. That is
how about this one?
Three-way.
We got the Memphis Mafia, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Rich, taking on Team Extreme, Shane Douglas, and a mystery partner that Shane Douglas doesn't even know who his partner is.
What?
Wow.
How you like that one? And it's not me.
Who do you think that's going to be, Jimmy?
That's a quotient with a potion. Who the hell's that going to be? I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
I'm going to go with Rob Van Dam. I have a strange
feeling. Wow. That would be something. That would be something.
That's one
of my all-time favorites. Real quick, Chubby, do you think that Vince plucked properly?
You're gonna open up the Vince can of worms now.
Well, from the
here we go.
From the ECW crop, Vince. Let's face it, he definitely propped and preferred Rob Van Dam.
Sure.
The Dudley Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm almost pressed right now to think of others, and there was a lot of great wrestlers that came out of ECW, but Vince really fell in love with those particular two, in my mind.
Austin, Foley.
Yeah, but he probably didn't look at them as that. He probably looked at them more as WCW guys.
I don't think he looked at Austin as a true ECW guy, but he had to look at
No.
Foley as one because Foley
Did
was
he?
in ECW for a while.
Yeah, I think that he might, had always paid more attention to WCW. That's just I think he had a friendship, obviously, with Paul. Something behind the scenes, all these years later still confuses me. It feels like Paul and Vince seem to be on the same page on a lot of things. Vince was slowly borrowing from what we saw at ECW. And the next thing you know, Paul's owning, selling it to him, and Paul's working for him. So I always wondered how that dynamic, became the way it did.
Will we ever truly know the truth behind that? Because I
Well, you look at it
I would
logically.
love to know.
Listen,
You look at it logically. Paul hated WCW. That's on record. He's not shy about saying that.
Sure.
So he must have always grown up, and I know he grew up. Mikey's from the island, for God's sakes. He had to grow up very impressed by the McMahons. He had to.
Well, listen,
So
he just was on Logan Paul's show. He told some really interesting stories. Heyman is I got to get this last one in before we end the show. And Goodhart will be on next week, which I'm excited about. Hopefully, Chubby, you clear your schedule. You could double up and come back for a return on Monte and the Pharaoh, Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. But let me ask you, since Vince McMahon's name's brought back, I want you to send us out with your thoughts on Vince McMahon, the allegations, and how do you feel personally about the situation?
Since we're on Monte and the Pharaoh, and you guys want to know, I feel Vince. Let me explain it to you this way. 20-year-old Bay Ragney in wrestling school, and how are you supposed to think when your teacher talks to you? Like, I would go to classes Monday through Thursday night, 8 to 10. And usually one of those classes ended up being a talk session, talking about the business, learning about the business. How do you feel when you're told if you go to do job matches for WWF at the time, you will most likely be propositioned by Pat Patterson or somebody else, you never know who, for sexual favors? If you want to do that, that's on you. But I'm warning you, it most likely will happen, so be prepared. So that always stuck in my head, and I said to myself, wait a minute. So we have this company. If I'm being told in a shitty, sweaty, ugly, nasty gym in Northeast Philly that's in a basement about what's going on in Titan Towers and Connecticut and wherever these shows are, you think fucking Vince don't know? Something's fucking wrong here. Okay? So if that's going on, Vince obviously knows what's going on, and Vince is allowing to go on. Well, then, as time goes on, then it starts coming out in the media, and then you're hearing about fucking ring boys and ring announcers. I mean, it just ran rampant. And here now, 30 years later, 35 years later, we're hearing Vince was paying millions of dollars to this one, millions of dollars to this one, millions of dollars to this one. Like, what the fuck was going on up there? So I say this. This has been my thoughts and feelings. Vince McMahon, the human being, is an absolute disgrace and piece of fucking shit. Vince McMahon, the businessman / promoter, is a fucking beast and knew how to do what he wanted to do to take over the world of professional wrestling. Two different fucking people, in my opinion. The person that took over the business and took over the world and gave us a World Wrestling Entertainment or World Wrestling Federation created that sick individual that allowed himself and his fucking cronies to God knows what to how many male or female people over the fucking years.
How do you feel about people that take money and then afterwards decide they want more money and go public like the recent
Fuck
thing?
you piece of shit. You're a bigger piece of shit than McMahon. How dare you?
Meaning the individual that did that.
You
Okay,
fucking spread your legs and open your mouth, and you take fucking millions of dollars, and you're having a fucking ball, and it's fine and dandy then. But then when the purse strings shut, you want to fucking cry wolf and go to court. Fuck you. You're a bigger piece of shit than the one paying.
So at the end of the day, while I can paint a picture in my mind as you talk about that dirty basement and those guys saying these things are going on, I have to ask you this, and if it pigeonholes you, I apologize in advance. Vince McMahon has been accused of a lot of things over the year, yet just like my partner and I point out week after week, year after year. Well, then how come Vince McMahon has never wound up in jail? Okay, at the end of the day. So to me, and why are people now, 35 years later, now they found the cojones? I hate to be Tony Soprano, but where'd you get your boss from all of a sudden? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff that's been thrown out there about Vince McMahon. Exactly. I'll say this much: I agree with your analogy on Vince McMahon the person. I mean, Vince McMahon the businessman. But as far as Vince McMahon the person, I have no idea who Vince McMahon is.
You know what, Jimmy? Every time I try to end the show, because it's been an incredible show.
Well, it's Vince. You brought up Vince.
And you know what? But first of all, I got to say this, Chubby. Number one, you got a lot of balls the way you're answering stuff, because you're a promoter now. And I know you got to be, in a good way.
In a good way.
Politically correct.
Look,
I gotta get this in, and then you can say what you got.
Okay.
We have a lot of problems with a lot of people and agendas, but we always allow people to speak their piece, and you have done a wonderful job doing it. But now that Jimmy brought that up, I have another question for you, because there's another one that's sitting in my craw. Is a guy by the name of Mario Mancini.
Here we go.
Mancini was a jobber.
This is related. This is related to the subject.
I know the name, but I don't know the. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, he worked from 84 to 92. He did talent enhancement for WWF.
He's most widely known now in the podcast circles as the bitch for Rita Charlton, the referee. Made the accuses about Vince McMahon raping her, which Vince never went to jail for. Right. So my point again to you is this: if your friend, a woman, comes up to you and says, Chubby,
working in the company,
right, or whatever, you're at your job,
you're working in the company,
and says, hey, Chubby, I just got raped, but please don't say anything. What are you doing?
I have a big fucking mouth, and I didn't always. That's a thing.
Well, why do you say that with geez, I should. I mean, you're talking about exposing the truth. Perhaps there is no right. You're afraid about your position in the company.
I hate to say it. The fucking reality of it is, especially in a business like that, everybody's looking out at the end of the day for themselves. They have to fucking make sure they have their paycheck to take care of themselves, their families, etc. So. You're going to have a lot of people, and this is not just fucking Vince McMahon land. This is every business in existence, any entertainment or not. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Could be a fucking gas station on your corner of your street.
So the main point, though, for us is
it's all about fucking money.
As interviewers, is it unfair? For an interviewer, a wrestling fan like Mike and I are, is it unfair for us to ask Mario Mancini, why didn't you say something? Why is that so absurd? You can just say what you just said.
No. You know what? Here's why. Because I've done these interviews, again, 12, 13 years. Did you guys interview him? And you asked him that question?
We did in the past, but now he's recently been coming out on his own channel, correct, Mike?
He's on multiple podcasts. And,
right.
Is he getting fucking paid to go on podcast?
I would imagine he is.
I would think, yeah. So all of a sudden now it's like, let's go public about this. So we ask legitimately, well,
let
why
me
didn't you say
fucking collect
something
a
then?
payday, or let me go on my own podcast and
Right.
fucking boost my numbers
And
Right.
make the
and
dirt
talk.
sheets. And
Get
make
the
the
fuck
dirt
out of
sheets.
here.
Right. Well, that's the
This
vibe.
is what gives me. Are you guys Italian? You're from
We
Long
are.
Island.
I'm Italian.
Mike's Italian. I'm Irish. I'm
All right.
close in a
Fucking
way.
I'm Italian from fucking South Philly. Gives me
There we
fucking
go.
agita. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
these fucking
jeez.
jabronis, motherfuckers.
Like I can't fucking join in on this fucking conversation. What the fuck's wrong with
Join
both of
in.
you?
Come on.
Yeah,
Fucking
you know,
join
I mean,
in.
for guys, all right, Mike, let me tell you about my guma. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
Anyway.
Next week we've got Joel Goodhart on. Chubby, you are incredible. Great conversations from Motley Crue to Chris Benoit to Vince McMahon.
You guys have been
conversations,
so
Chubby.
much fun. I gotta say this. You guys have been so much fun. You had me all fucking fired up. And I don't want to come on and overstep Joel's bounds next week. Let Joel have his piece. And
I'm sure he will.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, with that, this has been Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and Pharaoh. Jimmy, you want to send us out?
You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh with the legendary ECW zone, Chubby Dudley. And until next time, later.